What you're looking at is a B-17 flying fortress, but not just any B-17. This one has German crosses on its wings. Its name was Wolf Hound, later just Wolf Hound, and its story is one of the most incredible tales from the air war over Europe. It reveals a shocking truth that helped seal the fate of the Third Reich, a truth discovered not in a dogfight, but on the ground, in a secret German hangar. Our story begins on December 12, 1942. A brand new B-17F, fresh from the Boeing factory, takes off from England on its very first mission. Its target, the railway yards at Sotteville-les-Rouen in occupied France. The crew was green, the mission was supposed to be routine, but things went wrong almost immediately. The plane's commander, a young first lieutenant, made a critical navigational error. Instead of flying towards France, he set a course straight for the Netherlands. By the time the crew realized their mistake, it was too late. Lost, low on fuel, and alone, they were spotted by German fighters. Hopelessly out of position, the pilot decided their only chance was to find a friendly airfield in neutral territory. He spotted what he thought was an RAF base in England. He lowered the landing gear and prepared to touch down, relieved to be safe. But this wasn't England. It was Leeuwarden, a major Luftwaffe fighter base in the Netherlands. As the fortress rolled to a stop, German soldiers surrounded it, weapons raised. The American crew had just gift-wrapped one of their most advanced bombers and delivered it directly to the enemy. The 10-man crew was captured without a single shot fired. For them, the war was over. For their airplane, it was just beginning. The Germans were ecstatic. Capturing an intact B-17 was an intelligence goldmine. The plane was carefully flown to the Luftwaffe's central test facility at Rechlin Airfield. Here, Germany's top pilots and engineers would pick it apart, learn its secrets, and find its weaknesses. They renamed it DL+XC. German test pilots, like the legendary Werner Baumbach, put the bomber through its paces. They tested its speed, its ceiling, its handling. They discovered its blind spots, particularly from the front, a vulnerability German fighter pilots would soon exploit with devastating head-on attacks. They also used the captured fortress for something else: deception. Repainted in Luftwaffe colors, it joined a special unit that would fly alongside American bomber formations, reporting their position, speed, and altitude back to German command centers. It was a Trojan horse in the sky, a ghost plane sowing confusion, and helping to coordinate the very attacks designed to shoot down its sister ships. It was a brilliant, cunning tactic. But the most shocking discoveries weren't made in the air. They were made on the ground by the engineers who examined every inch of the aircraft. What they found was not a marvel of cutting-edge technology. In fact, many German engineers initially looked down on the B-17. Compared to their own sophisticated designs, it seemed crude, almost agricultural. The wiring was simple, the controls were manual, the parts seemed mass-produced rather than finely crafted. It wasn't elegant, it wasn't particularly fast. But as they looked closer, a terrifying realization began to dawn. The fortress wasn't designed to be a masterpiece, it was designed to be a weapon of industrial war. Everything about it was optimized for mass production and repair. The components were standardized. A wing from one B-17 could be bolted onto the fuselage of another. A damaged engine could be swapped out on a muddy airfield in a matter of hours, not days. The internal layout was spacious and logical, allowing crew members to move around, help each other, and even perform in-flight repairs. It was tough, redundant, and built with one overriding philosophy: bring the crew home. This wasn't just a plane, it was the product of a system that Germany could not hope to match. The most chilling data of all didn't come from the plane itself, but from the intelligence reports that followed. American factories, untouched by bombs, were churning out hundreds of these bombers every single month. By the end of the war, over 12,000 B-17s would be built. 12,000, each one virtually identical to the last. Meanwhile, Germany's own heavy bomber, the Heinkel He-177, was an engineering nightmare, so prone to engine fires that its crews grimly nicknamed it the Luftwaffe Leiter. The difference wasn't just engineering skill, it was raw, overwhelming industrial power. By late 1943, Wolf Hound, now part of the top-secret KG-200 unit that operated captured Allied aircraft, toured airfields across Europe. Luftwaffe pilots would walk around it in stunned silence, tracing the simple, strong rivet lines, studying the practical layout. For many, it was a moment of profound demoralization. This rugged, mass-produced machine was a symbol of an enemy that could absorb losses on a scale they couldn't even comprehend. The B-17 was designed to survive, but more importantly, it was designed to be replaced faster than it could ever be destroyed. Each flying fortress carried more than just bombs and guns. It carried a philosophy that was winning the war. Make it simple enough for thousands to be built by a workforce that included former car mechanics and housewives. Make it strong enough to limp back to base full of holes. And make it efficient enough to be flown by young men who just months before might have been driving tractors or attending college. As 1944 dawned, the strategic situation for Germany became desperate. Its fuel reserves dwindled. Its veteran pilots were gone, replaced by teenagers with only a few hours of training. Its factories lay in ruins under the relentless pounding of the very bombers they had once studied. Now the American fortresses and liberators flew in immense, sky-blackening formations, protected by swarms of P-51 Mustangs that could escort them all the way to Berlin and back. The math of the air war had become brutal and undeniable. For every German ace who shot down 10 bombers, 100 new American crews would arrive the next week to take their place. Germany was bleeding its most precious resource, experience. America, on the other hand, was banking it. The crews who survived their tour of duty went home to train the next generation, passing on hard-won knowledge. America's system wasn't just building planes, it was building an ever-growing pool of combat veterans. Into 1945, Wolf Hound continued its shadowy missions for KG-200, its dark camouflage blending into the night sky over a collapsing Reich. Its final mission, however, would be its last. In April 1945, with the war in its final chaotic weeks, Allied bombers struck the very heart of the Luftwaffe's testing grounds at Rechlin. Bombs rained down on the airfield. In the ensuing fires and explosions, Wolf Hound, the American fortress that had been captured, studied, and turned against its creators, was destroyed on German soil by American bombs. Its physical story ended there, in the wreckage of a burning hangar. But its lessons lived on. The German engineers who had meticulously studied it wrote the truth in their final, stark reports. One of them famously concluded, "The guns of the B-17 are impressive. The system that built it is decisive." The flying fortress was far more than an airplane. It became a symbol of what modern industrial warfare truly was, a contest not just of pilot skill or tactical genius, but of production, logistics, repair, and sheer endurance. Every rivet in Wolf Hound's frame told the same story. America hadn't just built a machine, it had built a machine that builds machines. For the proud and skillful pilots of the Luftwaffe, that humbling realization was the beginning of the end. A famous military maxim says that in war, amateurs talk strategy, while professionals talk logistics. The story of Wolf Hound proves a similar point. Genius might win you a battle, but it's systems that win the war. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more hidden histories like this one. We'll see you on the next mission.